Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome our today's speaker, Dr. Sarjit Bakshi from CMI. Before starting the talk, I would like to request you all to keep your audio on mute. There will be a question answer session at the end. Nevertheless, if you want to ask any question, please do it over chat or use the raise hand feature and unmute your audio only when there is a signal from our coordinator, Dr. Isan Patri. So let's start with the talk. Dr. Sajik.
Okay. Thank you, Tanvi. So today we are going to talk on torus quotients of Schubert varieties in the Grassmannian. So basically, this will be a presentation of a joint work with my advisor and faculty at CMI, like Professor Santa Marikandan and KV Subramaniam. So let's begin. So the main object of interest is the Grassmannian variety, which is the space of all R-dimensional subspaces of Cn. And now, suppose I take a point in the Grassmannian and I fix a basis V1 to Vr of V, then one can give a Plücker embedding via this map, like V goes to V1 wedge V2 dot wedge Vr. Note that this doesn't depend on the choice of the basis, because up to, if I change the basis, there will be a determinant, and in the projective space both are same points. And let CGRN denote the homogeneous coordinate ring of the Grassmannian. Now I want an indexing set. Let IRN is set of all I1 I2 dot dot IR with 1 less or equal to I1 less then I2 dot dot IR to n. Now this gives a base, like note that this IRN indices a basis of wedge sorry, it's a typo here. So this is basically R, wedge R Cn dual. Okay, and the Plücker coordinates are basically the dual to this basis given by P5. So now the Bruha order is basically like each component wise there is a increasing order. For example, suppose I do I24, then suppose I take the word 1 2, note that so by the way, this IRN, this is the cardinality of IRN. This can be identified with the space of all shuffle permutations. So this is Sn minus R cross SR. And here in I24, I have taken the elements like A, B with 1 less or equal to A, less than B, less or equal to 4. So these are the 6 elements, as you may notice, 4 factorial by 2 factorial, 2 factorial. And what is the Bruha order here? 1, 2 is smaller than 1, 3 in the Bruha order, 1, 3 is smaller than 2, 3 in the Bruha order, and so on, if you follow the chain. But 1, 4 and 2, 3 is not comparable in the Bruha order. So this gives the Bruha order. Now let me define the Schubert varieties in the Grassmannian. So there is an action of SLNC on the Grassmannian, and just by the multiplication on the vectors in the subspace, and then if we take the again the standard basis, and if I take E1 to ER, one can first see that this is a transitive action, and if I take E1 to ER, then the stabilizer of that is precisely this parabolic subgroup given as like this parabolic subgroup. This is the stabilizer. And let B denotes the space of upper triangular matrices, like as it is more common in the literature. They are basically the Borel subgroups. They are basically a Borel subgroup. And T be the space of maximal n cross n diagonal matrices, which is a maximal torus inside B. So it's, the setup is something like T is inside B is inside G. Okay, and PR is somewhere. Sorry. And now the Schubert varieties are also indexed by this space IRN. So HW is defined as the closure of the B orbit of this point E tau. So remember that we have previously considered that we have, so this is the Grassmannian. There is this embedding in the projective space of Cn, and then we have this point E tau here, and then we are just taking the closure of the B orbit. So there is an action by SLN, and then we take the closure. So yeah, just to remind, if tau is say tau 1 dot dot tau 1, these are all elements in tau is an element in IRN, then E tau is E tau 1 wedge. Okay. So this gives the Schubert varieties, and like there is a if and only if condition that the Schubert varieties there is an inclusion order if and only if there is a, so it is less than equal to, and this is also subspace which may be equal to, but if it is strictly less, then it will also be strictly less and vice versa. So just the dimension of the Schubert variety is length of the word, like the usual length of the word coming from reduced expressions. Okay. Now let's go to the standard monomials on the Grassmannian. So a monomial in the Plucker coordinates P tau 1 to tau d is standard if I have a, if tau 1 is less or equal to tau 2 is less or equal to dot 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 is less or equal to tau 2. Now associate to each such monomial a young tableau. So maybe I'll just show it by an example, very easy example. So, and then one can see that the standardness condition is a semi-standardness condition in the young tableau. For example, suppose I take G24, again the Grassmannian of plane scene of in C4. So then I can have, say, the Plucker coordinate 1, 2, 3, 4. So to this I'll associate the tableau with first column 1, 2 and the second column being 3, 4. And in my convention, the semi-standard tableau is like it will be weakly increasing along the rows and strictly increasing along the columns. Okay. For example, if I take this tableau, one, 4, 2, 3. This is not a, so this corresponds to this monomial. This is not a semi-standard tableau. Okay. But this is a semi-standard tableau. This is not a semi-standard. This is not a semi-standard tableau, so this is not a standard monomial. Okay. So the fun fact is we can work only with standard monomials some sense because they constitute a basis. So let me just tell what that means. So that comes by something called straightening law. So again, like suppose I have two elements of IRN which are not comparable in the usual Bruha order, but they can be lexicographically, tau is lexicography order is the usual order. Just for example, like 1, 4, 2, 3 and 1, 3, 2, 4. This is lexicographically bigger because 1, 4 comes before 1, 3. But this is not, but just 1, 4 and 2, 3. These two are not comparable. So there is no Bruha here. So if they are not comparable, then there is some T such that IM is less or equal to JM for all 1 to m1 to t minus 1 and it is greater than j2. Now let tau phi denotes the, again this tau phi is also a kind of shuffle permutation. So I'll just explain it with an example. Maybe a very simple example to start with is, like suppose I take 1 4 2 3. Note that 1 is smaller than 2 but 3 is bigger than 4, so I'll take this set. And then basically what this straightening rule will say is this will be like minus 1 2 3 4 plus 1 4 1 3 2 4. So this will be like the rearrangement of the word, like 2 comes here and then I rearrange the whole column. So this is the straightening principle. So just to write it more formally, that alpha sigma is I1 to IT to sigma IT to sigma IR, arranged in the ascending order, beta sigma likewise. Then the straightening rule says that the product P tau into P phi is summation of sigma in this tau phi plus minus P alpha sigma P beta sigma. So with the, this is a very crucial condition. So again there is a typo. So this is phi. So with P tau into P phi is lexicographically bigger than P sigma tau into P sigma phi. Okay. Again, just to see the previous example, like note that this monomial is, or this tableau is lexicographically bigger than this and this. So this is the second condition. And to give a slightly non-trivial example, let's work with something like 1 4 5 2 3 6. So note that here here we have like 1 is less than 2 but 4 is greater than 3. So I'll take this part. So as I mentioned that there are like, this will be the shuffle. So shuffle has like 4 factorial by 2 factorial into 2 factorial terms. So the total number of terms is 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. And then you just do like, if you put 2 here and if 2 and 4 gets substituted, then you will have 1 2 5 3 4 6. The sign comes by determining the sign of the shuffle, but for this talk we won't need the sign. So that's why like I just put plus minus, and then like this follows. And the lexicographic, since this is lexicographically bigger than the summands, so this suggests that the process will terminate actually. Okay, now let's come to the main theorem of standard monomial theory. So CXW is the homogeneous coordinating for the Plucker embedding. Then the degree dth component has a basis consisting of the standard monomials p tau 1 to p tau d. For example, like again a very simple example is like to consider G24 again. And you remember like we had this 1 2 1 3 1 4 2 4, no, sorry, 1 4 3 2 4 and 3 4. So 3 4 is the x 3 4 is our G24 in this case, the Grassmannian. Okay. And if I just take anything smaller, like say x24, and now if I want to know what is a, so this is 2 4 basis elements of degree 2, then this will be indexed by the tableaus, semi-standard tableaus with A, B, C, D, and the condition B, D. B should be less or equal to 2 and D should be less or equal to 4. That's all. But and they are semi-standard. Okay. Now let's move on to the another basics which we will need. Basically, the main interest of today's talk is understanding GIT quotients of this Grassmannians and the Schubert varieties by a maximal torus. So just to introduce the classical notions from GIT as per, after Mumford, is suppose H be a reductive algebraic group acting on a projective variety X in Pn, and let pi from L to X be an ample line bundle. So what do I mean by pi being H equivariant? So if deductive algebraic group bothers you, like just take H to be SLNC. Now pi is H equivariant if there is an H action phi from G cross L to L on L such that the usual, like this is the projection map and this is the phi and this diagram completes. And additionally, along the fibers, the action has to be linear. So that means pi is H equivalent. And once I have this kind of condition, then we say P to be a semi-stable point for the action of H. If there is a homogeneous H invariant polynomial F such that, so here H invariant polynomial F meaning like, so we have this embedding by some L and this is where the polynomial lies. This is the global section of the sign. Okay, such that f of p is not equal to 0. Denote this set by X semi-stable SS and the points in the complements are called null cone. And a point is said to be stable if it is in SS and its H orbit is closed and the stabilizer of P in H is finite. Now the main object of interest, the GIT quotient, the geometric invariant theoretic quotient of X for the H linearized ample line bundle L is defined as the proj of the being from 0 to infinity in natural numbers only, like H naught of X comma L tensor D power H. Okay. So now we'll have like the torus, the maximal torus T, and X will be Grassmannian and the Schubert variety, and L will be a line bundle which will be like which I'll just tell with this the like just the twist of the canonical bundle coming from the embedding which we have shown. So this is the object of interest. So this now we can proceed to GIT quotients of Grassmannians. The pullback C star of O1, as I have shown that there is this embedding of Grassmannian in the projective space. O1 is the O1 is over P1, P of which R Cn, and the pullback C star is the ample line bundle which comes from L omega R, and omega R is the rth fundamental weight. Maybe worth mentioning here that this how these fundamental weights are coming from. So basically, suppose I have the character of the torus, which is like Hom as an algebraic group from T to C star to Picard of G mod B. Okay, so this lambda goes to L lambda, and now once I have this torus, then I have once I fix a simple root and space of simple roots and positive roots, then I can define something called the fundamental weight, which are very classical, like omega, like you have a set of fundamental roots. It's like omega I alpha j is something like delta I. So this is very classical, but just to keep this notation. And then one notices that the degree dth piece of this homogeneous coordinate ring of the Grassmannian is isomorphic to H naught of GR Rn comma L omega R tensor D. Note that this space has a basis. This space has a basis consisting of Plucker coordinate, consisting of standard monomials, basically indexed by tableaus. So this will have dr many. So this will have dr many columns. Okay, and in each column there will be r rows. That's all. And then semi-standard. And Shravan Kumar has shown that the line bundle L n omega r descends to a line bundle on the quotient. So the condition he has put, so his was very general in the sense like when in like any homogeneous space, the bundle descends to the quotient. So in case of type A, he showed that like whenever it is in the weight is in the root lattice, then the line bundle descends to the quotient. For example, n omega r is in the root lattice. So root lattice is nothing but summation of simple, like it's in the integral combination of the simple roots. Okay. Now, slowly we are moving towards how this, we are trying to understand the GID quotients of Grassmannian by a maximal torus. So we start with the action on the homogeneous coordinate ring. So it's a natural action because SLN acts on Grassmannian. So T is a subgroup of that, and so there is an action. And to make it slightly more explicit, the action is basically just defined like T dot. So again, like if I take say GR24, and if I take say T1, T2, T3, T4, so this is in SL4, remember. So product of TIs is 1 times, suppose I look into the tableau, say 1, 2, 1, 2. Then it will be like T1 square, T2 square, because there are 2 ones, 2 twos, and again the tableau will be 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. And then suppose I take something on 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it will be like T1, T2, T3, T4 times 1, 3, 2, 4. Now note that this is 1 because we are in SL4. So this is just 1, 3, 2, 4. So this is indeed so T dot 1, 3, 2, 4 is 1, 3, 2. So this is indeed a something T invariant or a zero weight, this monomial P dot. Okay. So this gives us a condition here. So a monomial is T invariant if I occurs the same number of times. This is simply because we are in SLN. Like product of Ti1, and we need this T1 power number of 1 into T2 power number of 2 is equal to 1. So all the numbers have to be same. Now for RNN co-prime, note that this the degree digit piece is non-zero if and only if n divides d. Now we are going into a slightly deeper zone. Like we have RNN co-prime. We are not taking not any arbitrary RNN. There is a reason, because we want to explore the quotients. They are slightly nicer and more known. So yes. So maybe I'll just slightly tell what this is doing is, so this space will have a basis consisting of monomials, and those can be indexed by Young tableaus, right? And now I have said that RNN is co-prime, and all the numbers from 1 to n will have to appear equal number of times. The only way that can happen, so all of them have to appear equal number of times. Suppose any number appears, so the total number has to be a multiple of n, and then this to be non-empty, it forces that this n has to divide n. Okay. Say for example, if I take G2, now slightly bigger example, say G2 file, if I have 1, 1, if I have all the numbers have to appear twice, then see that it at least have to have 5 columns. And then the main important result here is due to Skorobogodov in 93 and Kannan in 98. Kannan used Seshadri's lemma from his famous paper Quotient Space Modulo Reductive Groups to show that the semi-stable point and the stable points are same when RNN are co-prime. That's quite a interesting result, because in that case, like one can also show that the quotient is a smooth quotient, and once you have the quotient is being smooth, then many nice things happens, like it becomes normal and other things, which we will explore in few minutes. So this is a very important result. Okay, maybe just before going further, like if anybody has quick question I can address. Hello.
I think you can continue.
Yeah.
If there is.
Okay, thank you, Tanvi. So, okay. Okay. So now we'll be like kind of seeing the GIT and the standard monomial theory in action. So we'll first prove the projective normality of GIT quotients of Grassmannian of two-dimensional planes in n-dimensional complex vector space. So by the way, for me, like there is nothing particular with you. You can take any algebraically closed characteristic zero field. I'm fine. Call that C. So let me go to the history of this problem. So Gelfand and McPherson have shown that the GIT quotient of endpoints in PR minus 1 by the diagonal action of PG LRC is isomorphic to the GIT quotient of Grassmannian with respect to the T linearized Lang model L n omega. So this is the first reason why one can actually consider the T quotients. One second. Yeah. And that space, the quotient, also gets identified with something like the space of n ordered points in the projective line modulo the automorphisms of the line. And so this was in the 19th century. Kempe so there was no GIT that time. So the language like is nowhere closer to the language we currently read. So however, Kempe managed to show that the ring of invariance is generated in the least degree. And this is what Ho in his book, classical invariant theory. I forgot the name, I'm not sure. So in his book mentioned the deepest result of in classical invariant theory. Okay, and attributed to Kempe. Now in 2005, so Vakil have noticed the ideal of relations is generated in degree at most 4 and gave an explicit description of the generators of the ring of invariance for n even and r equal using graph theoretic methods. So so the thing is like they use some kind of toric degenerations, and for that they needed to study this quotient and they needed to study the projective, like the R1 generation basically, which I'll tell again what that is. And they also say that it was like it gets surprisingly like it was not known for a long time. The relations in which degree the relations are generated, they are not known. Even for higher rank Grassmannians, the generators where they lie, that is also not known. Like it's only like 2, and again like by set duality you can go to n minus 2 and like those kind of things. But the point is like in general we have no idea. The combinatorics is like too complicated. So then we have shown the projective normality in a completely elementary way for n odd, and which we believe, at least I believe, that there will be a possible way to get hold of the general quotient in the higher rank Grassmannian using the standard combinatories of the standard monomials, or there may be some other basis. But the combinatorics is the one which is very much not known. And later, another proof of projective normality was claimed by Jindal Arpita Nayak and Santosh Patnaik using graph theoretic methods, which are like Peterson graphs, what they call. But we will be interested in this part because we'll just look into an elementary way to get hold of the projective normality. So, okay, let me just define what projectively normal is. So it's more of a theorem than a definition. So whenever you have the homogeneous coordinate string of the for an embedding, if that is normal, then that's said to be projectively normal. And there is an equivalent condition in this was there as an exercise in Hartshorne, that a projective space is a projective variety is projectively normal for an embedding given by the line bundle L if and only if X is normal and uh, the global sections, the sum of global sections is generally in the least degree. Least degree in the sense degree 1. So, or it may so happen that only in the even degrees it can come. So, the least degree is basically sometimes called R1 generation as well. For example, just take the polynomial ring Cx. This is generally in the least degree as in C algebra by only x. So, so so just to fairly, so this is the usual polynomial ring, say Cx1, x2. Okay, and this is generated by x1 and x2 as an algebra. And where does x1 and x2 lie? So they lie in the degree 1th place, which is the least degree. Okay, so then we have shown that for n odd, the quotient is indeed projectively normal. Now this is Rn. So the like since we have taken n and 2 to be co-prime, we must have that n must divide the degree of the component. So we have taken the nth piece. So the least degree R1 will be the mth degree in the Beaker-Grassmannian, and by putting a t, it ensures that all the integers are a number. So now we show that this math is surjective. Okay, so basically, just to roughly say what we are going to do, suppose I have taken G25 and then I have a tableau like 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 5, 4, 4, 5. So this is in degree. So this is a degree 10th component in the coordinate ring of Grassmann, but this is in degree 2 in as this notation Rm is concerned. So now I want to show that there is a pre-image of this element in here. So that is all I will try to show. And once I have this result that this ring is generated in degree 1, then the result due to Kandel and Skorobogodov that this quotient is smooth. So smoothness implies normality. We will have the projective normality of the quotient of the torus quotient of this G2. Now let's get into the idea of the proof. So the proof is basically finding an algorithm, okay, to find the pre-image. So I start with an element of Rn and we'll find a pre-image, and theta will be the respective tableau, and p-mu, maybe if I had the previous example here, so it was like 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3. So all I have done is, so this is in the degree 2 piece in the, so now I'll just take the one which are in the 1 mod 10 position, which is like the odd columns here. So I'll just take 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, and then 2, 5 and 4, 5. Now see that it is not a zero weight because 2 has appeared twice but 4 has appeared once. So I will give an algorithm so that there we can find a zero weight. So basically we'll do some kind of algorithm over the big tableau and get into something which is a zero. Okay, the zero weight meaning like all the entries appearing same number of times. So that is like here I'll just correct this 2 to like if I somehow change 2 by a 4 and still I can show that this product is kind of holding. It's not a product per se, it will be like, so I'll also mention this p mu prime plus summation p tau double prime. If this tau double prime are lexicographically smaller than the original one and these two are zero weights, then also I'm done. Basically the image, like we can induct on the lexicographic order is the total order, we can induct on the lexicographic order and then inductively show this. So this is the basic idea. So for the same, like an integer will be set defected if I appears odd number of times. For example, in the previous case, note that 2 and 4 are the defected integers. 2 has appeared 3 times and 4 has appeared twice. 4 has appeared once. And denote the set of defected integers by D. So these are all small lemmas, not very difficult to prove. All the defected integers appears, all the integers 1 to n occurs in the tableau T mu. The T mu is the tableau coming from the columns appearing in the 1 mod n position. And there are even number of defected integers. That's also fairly simple. It's just follows from the previous statement, and the total number of boxes is even, and the semi-standard. So, and let D be the set of defected integers since they are even. So I can index by I1 to I12. It's slightly non-trivial lemma is to show that ij appears 3 times if j is odd and ij appears once if j is even. So the first defected integer will be like will appear 3 times, as you see that 2 has appeared 3 times in the tableau and 4 has appeared once. So yeah, this is slightly tricky, but again like okay. And if j is odd, ij appears in the top row and bottom row of T. So this helps to set up the algorithm. And now there are some few notations, but don't worry about the notations. So all I am trying to say here is basically you, now let me give a very brief description of the algorithm here. So this is the big tableau we had. Okay. This is T tau, and then suppose I1. So at the first step is to slice the bigger tableau into, think of like M trains, M coaches in a train. So each of them will have M columns. So sorry, N coaches of each coach have M columns. So each of them have M columns. And then I have taken basically the p tau has been taken extracted out from the first column of each. So this is the thing. And then I'll have, suppose I1 has appeared somewhere here. So this is the last time when I1 has appeared in the bottom row. As I have written it, like this will be like CLI. The last time I1 has appeared in the bottom row. So I'll look into the slice, look into the coach where I1 stays. Okay. And then Yeah. So, and then I'll take the first column of that coach and the last column of that coach. Okay. And then I'll look into the first time when I2, so remember I1 and I2 are defected. There are, like we have shown that this I1 cannot appear in a zero mod in position in a column which has cannot end, like C of I1 cannot be zero mod m and so on, and C of Li2 cannot be one mod m. Those things are there. So suppose now I have taken the coach where I2 lies. Okay, so this is the first column of I2. And then all we have done is to separate out with boxes, which I call S, Ij, and so on. So this box, this is the column number 1 mod M, and this is 0 mod M. So so this is rather CA, where A is congruent to 1 mod M, and this is CB, where B is congruent to 0 mod M. Okay, so we have just taken these boxes now. And then, like, if we zoom in here, we have basically extracted out. This is 1 mod M, this is 0 mod M, and then again this is 1 mod M, this is 0 mod M, and so on. So this is what we have set up the notations. Okay, so this tau L, so this tau L, L tau Lj1 is this place and this box. So we have taken the whole subtableau here and we run through it. So maybe just slightly non-trivial example here to start with. Just quickly we see what are the defected integers. The defected integers here, like 4 has appeared once, 9 has appeared thrice. Sorry, 4 has appeared odd number of times, 9 has appeared odd number of times, and then 10 and 12. So now if I have to separate out the columns as we have mentioned, so the last time 4 has appeared here is this place, and the first time 9 has appeared here is this box. So basically we will take this box, 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 and then we'll just, so the algorithms, there are few observations that these two numbers will always be same. This number will always be same as this number. These two numbers will always be same, as you can see here. So the algorithm guarantees, so the algorithm is basically then in this basic, so there will be like lots of cases where one has to show more things. So we'll swap these two numbers. And once we do enough swapping, then we will, like, what does the swapping do? Basically reduce the number of 4s from the tableau T mu and increase the number of 5. So 4 becomes, comes lesser number of times, 5 comes more number of times. I'm running out of time, so let's wait. So this is the swapping algorithm, what we have figured out. And after we do this swap, we come to something, we come to a 0 weight. So as like we do the swapping here, first 4 reduces, so the number of 4s will be now 2, 5 will be 3, and then 5 to 6 interchange, 6 will increase, 6 to 7 interchange, 7 will increase, and finally 9. So 9 was anyway short, so 9 will increase if the defect has been corrected. And then we do it for, so this takes care of 4, 9, and then we do it for 3. So using straightening and induction, we come to this result, which I have already mentioned, that P tau can be written as P mu into P nu plus summation of P tau prime this. And this, it will be very interesting to see whether this algorithm can be extended to the higher rank Grassmannians. So just to complete the picture, so these are the, so the first part comes as product of 0 weights, and the second part is a lexicographically smaller term, and the 0 weights are precisely these two. Okay. And the last part of the talk is like the minimal dimensional supervarieties in Grassmannian which admit semi-stable point. Why study them at the first place? So basically, one of the things which we have proved, which we will not have time today, like which quotients of when are the quotients of supervarieties smooth? So for that, to give a combinatorial criteria, one has to study the minimal dimensional supervarieties. At least we have to study that. So Kannan and Sardar has shown that there is a unique minimal dimensional supervariety which admits semi-stable point. And then we have shown that the GIT quotient is smooth. The argument is very similar to the case of GRN. By the way, now again we are always considering RNN to be co-prime. And we have explicitly given a way to find the sugar variety. So finding the sugar variety is basically giving the word. So, sorry. Okay. So the tableau with minimal last column is obtained by filling the tableau with R1s, 2s starting from top row. And the last column is A1 to AN with AI the smallest integer such that AI times R is I times 1. So for example, if I take G37, okay. So this is suppose I take G37. So what is the minimal dimensional supervariety? The condition says that 3 times A1 and should be just bigger than 7 times 1. So 3 times 3 is bigger than 7 times 1. 3 times A2 should be just bigger than 7 times 2. 15 and 14. And 3 times A3 is just bigger than 7 times 3. So A is 3, 5, 7. You can check. This is the smallest integer which satisfies this condition. So yeah, WRN is this. There is a T invariant polynomial which is not identically 0 on XW1. So this is kind of an idea of the proof also. And suppose I take any smaller Schubert variety, we cannot fill this 3 cross 7 diagram with something here which is smaller than 357 alternatively. And we explicitly studied the GIT quotient of XW37. The invariants which generate the coordinate of the quotient is this set of invariants here. Maybe one can do. And we have used something called diamond remaining theory to prove that the relations are precisely this set of relations. And using these two, so once we have the invariant, working with the invariants, we have shown that the projective, this polarized variety is also projectively known, the quotient of this Schubert variety. And not only this, once I is invariant, we can write this invariance in this matrix, in this determinant, in this condition, like rank of the matrix y1, y3, y4, y2, y3, y minus y7, y5, y6, y4 minus y6, y7 is less than 1. And once you see this, then it becomes nothing but a rational normal scroll. Okay. So that's basically all I wanted to say, but now some afterthoughts. So okay. At the first place, despite the problem being very classical, and nowadays people are using many different languages like variational GIT or stacks. So it is still important to understand the ring of invariance and the null cone, and finding explicit generators for the torus quotients of the Grassmannians, which is still not known. And of course, the relations are even more difficult to study. So one possible method is by Ravi Vakil, Benjamin Howard, Snowden, and Nilsson, using their approach by using some toric degeneration to hit this problem. And I guess this is my guess from the proof of the theorem for G2n, that for RNN and co-prime, the quotient will be generated in degree 1. And otherwise, they will lie up to the degree of GCD of Rn. And there are good reasons for this guess. Maybe sometimes later I'll be also communicating this. So thank you. Yeah, so more or less that's all. So, and the references are as usual. Yes. Like, uh, hello. Yeah.
Yeah, any questions?
So, Sajid, what is the importance of projective normality? Why show that?
Yeah, so the question of projective normality is basically like, see, smoothness is a kind of geometric property which doesn't depend on the embedding.
Yeah.
But projective normality, like whenever you fix the embedding, then like this differentiates somehow the embedding also at times.
Uh-huh.
So and of course, like this comes to old questions of like when are the rings generated in degree one? Like when are like Noetherian, when is the polynomial like rings like polynomial ring? So to classify those kind of objects as well. And later, like nowadays, like even for toric degenerations, people first see whether there is a projective normality one can show, and then go into the degenerations. Though I am not the last, I am not super confirmed yet how to do that. Yes, thank you for the question.
So if there are none, let's thank Sarjit.
I stop sharing the
Yeah.
screen.
Thank you.